letting your weight enter the ground. Let the body unfurl from the ground up. Noticing and allowing weight underside. So weight falls to the fingertips, to the soles of the feet, bottoms of the shoulder joints, the bottom of every part of the body. Weight settles underneath, weight settles underside, just like water finds the lowest places to dwell. So we can feel that, allow that process, and countering any tendency to be pulled down by that process. So again, a yin-yang pairing, the sinking and the rising. The energy sinks, the tissues sink and melt and pour down. Weight sinks, weight underside, but the skeleton, the structure remains very upright, very vertical. So letting weight fall underside throughout the body. And even encouraging more of that on each out breath. And settling and centering process just below the navel that can help center and therefore settle things even more. Another approach to that is everything in the upper body falls to this one point, like an upside down triangle or upside down pyramid. Everything, all the weight of the upper body falls to this point just below the navel. And then from here down, everything exits into the ground through the legs and feet. So this becomes a balancing point for the upper body and a concentration of the upper body's weight and mass. And then from here, that point, everything exits through the legs and feet into the ground. And we'll do a little warm up. So you can even keep the hands here if you like, and gently, consciously rolling the shoulders and noticing what that does for the spine, mobilizing and articulating vertebrae. Knees are bent, lower back is flat. And other way. Letting the hands hang with gravity and letting the back open so the shoulder blades drift apart, bringing the shoulders forward and the head hangs. And then from that sternum place, like a star opening, expanding energy, chest opens, shoulder blades come towards each other, shoulders fall back, feel the weight of the arms falling behind you a little bit, and then rolling forward. Hanging from that point down, forward, and then opening up, hanging a little bit back. So from between the vertebrae, or between the shoulder blades, it opens and expands, sending forward. And then timing that with your breathing. So breathing in is that opening of the chest, and breathing out is the spreading open of the back. And letting the breath do that work for you. And we'll just get a little bit more articulation in this part of the body. So we'll do shoulder rolls together and letting the breathing do most of that work. So breathing in, shoulders come back, up, and forward. Breathing out, shoulders come down and back. Breathing in, up to the ears, forward, breathing out, down and back. So just letting the breath do that physical work, physical movement. It's quite natural to breathe in, that opens things up, sends the shoulders back and up. Breathing out brings the shoulders forward and down. Good. And then feet close, knees bent, lower back flat, hip circles. Other way. And then do hip circles, but with a different process, a different mechanism, more internal, more energetic. Just like when you feel the belly, you can feel the belly extend, you feel the pressure, like there's a balloon in there. But we're going to move that energetic balloon around the waist, around the torso to cause the hip circles or the torso movement. So I move that bubble of air around the circumference of my torso. It's like a ball, an empty ball rolling in there. So that's sending your intention and that feeling of that air bubble, that air ball. You're sending that with your intention around the outside of your.
I froze.
Oh, okay. So did we miss some of that? Did we miss some of that?
You froze on me a little there.
So a bubble of air, that empty ball, I'm going to send that with my intention around my waist, around my torso. And that's what moves my hips. I send the ball. That creates a little extra opening and stretch.
You're frozen again.
Oh. Are you on the internet? It's freezing up. How about still freezing up a bit?
Yeah, I've been having internet problems today, but through work, but.
Oh, okay. It's not just yeah, we find it's often quite spotty.
Yeah.
Are there any questions about this process? I'm not sure how much came across that you could see or hear. Okay, let's work the knees. Is that better? And we can roll the knees apart as well and towards each other. And then to come up, not using the lower back, we bring the hips underneath the torso, come up using our legs. Okay, and we'll do a little bit with the spine. Turn sideways. So we've done this many times before. I sit back a little bit, or send the hips back and tailbone back. And then I pull the tailbone through and forward, and you, as best you can, one vertebrae or one or two vertebrae at a time, the spine is pulled forward, eventually getting right up to the neck, right to the top of the head. So I send the hips back a little bit and then roll one bone at a time forward. And you can imagine there's someone's got a string or a rope connected to the tailbone, and it's slowly pulled forward, and everything else stays where it is until it's pulled forward. And let your breathing release, so make sure you're not holding the breath at all. Rolling the spine. So you let the spine stay where it is until that next bone is pulled forward. Really important when we do sit a lot. Get the spine flowing and animated again. And then we can go side to side. So again, knees are bent. That's to flatten the lower back. Same thing, same process, one vertebrae, one bone at a time, but now it's pulled sideways. The string pulls the tailbone. And then the next bone, next bone, next bone, next bone, next bone, up until the top of the neck into the head. Then come back to center and start the other way from the bottom. As best you can, one bone at a time. And then ascending spirals. So again, it's important the lower back is flat. And we start with little tailbone circles and then allow that to propagate slowly up the spine. Rising up the spine to eventually through the neck, through the skull, through the top of the head. And then slowly hang back to stillness. And then start small circles the other way. And let that very slowly, gradually propagate up the spine like a spiraling staircase, right through the bones of the spine. And then hang still, and then again start the other way. Okay, and just make sure the legs and hips are really warmed up. So on the heel, make sure the leg you're standing on is bent. And we're going to turn the toes sideways from the hip joint. So the whole leg is rotating together. And get your ting, get very deep in your awareness, very deep with your awareness right inside that ball joint, and notice what it's doing for that big joint in there in the hip. And then slowly transition. Leg you're standing on is bent. Also make sure that we're not sticking out the side, just like in our Tai Chi set, we don't want to stick out. We sit into the hip, sit back a bit, but not out to the side. So the knee is bent, but the hip doesn't go out to the side. And on the heel, that leg is very light, hardly any weight on it at all. And right from the hip joint all the way down the leg, rotating. Again, of course, very good if we're doing a lot of sitting throughout the day. All these joints get seized up and rusty. And we'll change again. This time, instead of the heel, we'll be on the ball of the foot. Same action. This time it's the knee. Think of the knee moving left and right. Again, rotating ball of the hip. And over slowly to the other side. Still hanging out as you do that. Weight is through that standing leg that's bent. And we'll come back. One more thing on the ball again. This time, very similar to what we just did. Instead of thinking left and right or side to side, we're going to think of a circle. So rotating the knee in a circle. And let that rotation also propagate through the body. So I stand loose and relax. Again, make sure that standing leg is bent a bit. But I want to be nice and loose so that rotation kind of reverberates through the whole body. And all the joints are just kind of swiveling a little bit and rotate the other way. Let the body be open and loose. And slowly transition to the other side. Make sure it's bent a bit. Rotations. Hang out nice and loose. And let that movement make its way through the entire body to some degree or another. And another way. Okay. Standing. And just checklist physically. Release the abdomen. Hang the hips. Point the back crown of the head directly up. Let the weight of the arms pull the shoulders straight down. So again, you might conjure up again, weight under side. Each out breath is a releasing breath. Now, in a moment, we're going to move to Buddha belly. And try not to do it too muscularly. In fact, imagine that you're not using muscles at all. And allow your abdomen physically, the abdomen, torso, to just release and therefore expand a bit, like literally, just let all that tension go. So physically, this takes up more, it's larger circumference, takes up more space. And that ensuing release and expansion, let that push your arms out. And then continue energetically to expand, energetically expanding. Just so we have a sense that your arms are being billowed out or buoyed out rather than being lifted. So you're expanding from your center, from your core, but also physically let that happen too. So expanding out with your intention and your feeling, and that pushes the arms out rather than lifting the arms. They're pushed out. And again, take a moment to reset those shoulders, make sure they're sitting, and also make sure they haven't rolled forward. That's something that can happen when the arms come forward, is that might pull the shoulders forward. You can see that there. Upper back is too bent and my shoulders are a little bit forward. So I want to take an extra moment to set them so that they're set straight down. Upper back is gently rounded. We're not pulling the shoulders back, definitely. But equally, you have to watch out for shoulders falling forward. So they're not in their nest anymore. The shoulder want to be set in the nest. So whenever I bring the arms forward, we have to watch out for that. Got to perhaps reset the shoulders. So those arms are now out there and staying out there because of expansive energy, an openness, fullness, and Peng. Peng is a very, very, very important and basic foundational principle and quality, and that's that expansive energy, like a balloon, nicely filled. So you want to become that balloon. So your arms are out there because of Peng, because of that expansive quality and energy. And so to start with, we're just going to stand as best we can with a physical checklist and just be with that expanding energy or expansive energy from the core. Waves, like you drop a pebble in the lake and there's the ensuing ripples. Imagine ripples or waves emanating from your core or from the Dantian. waves emanating out, and that keeps the arms out, or an expanding sphere of energy. But the quality of the arms are not holding themselves up, but they're resting on a ball of energy, or they're kept out, pushed out, kept out by that expanding energy or flowing energy. Let the shoulder joints open but not roll forward. And the wrists are straight, the elbows are bent. So the wrists, we don't want the wrists bent like that. And the palms are facing the dantian. And so we basically stand here and intend and let, so it's yin and yang quality, and intending and also letting it happen. The expanding energy from the center, from the core. Again, physically, you can even let the physical abdomen expand. That kind of gets things going. Expanding energy keeps the arms out there. And then we stand by keeping and allowing the body to be empty. Like an empty vase, empty vessel. And it becomes full of emptiness. That's what keeps us open, tall, and round, because we're full. But we're full of emptiness, not full of stuff. And if you ever do need to let your arms rest, that's fine. Just kind of let them fall down under a pressure. There's a pressure that is having to move through, or a medium, a thickness they have to move through. And when you go back out, it's being pressurized out, filling, expanding. But the basic idea here is we're relatively passively allowing the energy to move freely as it wills. And the way to do that is to empty the body of physical tension and tenseness, and empty the mind and the body of energetic tension or restrictions or blockages. So we're practicing emptiness. We have a shape, we have a form, and once we're doing the best we can with a good shape and form, we want to empty, empty, empty. And when we start to empty correctly, we get filled. The emptying causes an ensuing fullness, or filling. And so it's global. It's this global idea of emptying and global idea of feeling, global feeling of filling. And that's letting the chi just be pervasive and to do what it wants, go where it wants. Now, let's let the arms slowly descend towards the sides, but it's like they're moving through water or thick air, or there's a pressure the arms are having to move through to eventually hang. And when we hang, we actually want the palms facing behind us. That rotates the shoulder joints to ensure that they stay open. In other words, what we want to avoid is falling flat in. That's exaggerating a bit, but people might be too collapsed here. And so the shoulder joints are closed, and even the elbows are closed. So we rotate the palms to face the rear or slightly to the rear. And that creates enough rotation to keep the shoulder joints open. But again, we're back to the same idea we have to watch out for, is when I do that, I don't want the shoulders to roll forward. So if that happens, that's a normal thing. I need to reset them. So practicing that same emptiness, openness, emptiness in the standard shape. Empty the legs, even though the legs are being used physically because we're standing with them. Imagine, feel, intend the legs empty. Hips empty, torso empties, shoulders, arms empty, neck empties. And each time you breathe out, each out breath is a re-emptying or further emptying. Then, again, with an expansive intention from the core and physically expanding and energetically expanding, sending those arms forward again. Filled with emptiness. Now we're going to go a little further to standing post. Take a moment to make sure the lower back is flat and the back of the neck is long and open. Background, the head is pointing straight up as the hips hang. Again, shoulders sitting, and we're not holding our arms up. They're being buoyed up, expanded up. Open, expansive quality and feeling. Let the shoulder joints sit and open. Elbow joints open. And we just let the energy move as it does. The only thing that we want to do, other than the physical checklist, is be open to emptiness. Be willing to empty. Be open to emptying, letting the body be as if it was transparent and empty. And letting the energy go where it wants to go and be how it wants to be. Every once in a while, remind yourself to release the abdomen, settle the weight underside, and then go back to this idea, intent, quality, and feeling of emptying, opening, emptying, eventually becoming full of emptiness. Let the energy just be and move as it wills. And now we're going to be more intentional with energy flow, being very empty. Send the energy around your arms, around your back, through your arms in a circle. Pick a direction. Doesn't matter which direction, you pick a direction. Send your intention, send the energy through this big circle, around the back and through the arms. As you hang the spine and settle into your feet, re-empty your vessel, and consciously, intentionally send the energy in a big circle or through your arms around your back. And then send your intention the other way, change that direction. Releasing on the out breath, send the energy the other way. And then back to just being open and empty, allowing the energy to do as it wants to do and be as it is. So you're now just more empty in mind and body. The mind is empty without desire for a particular direction or control of the energy, just open and empty. And letting the hands drift down, but again, through a medium, through a thickness. It's like a very slow descent to Buddha belly. Staying open, passive, empty. And again, hands move through a thickness, through a medium. Hanging out. Each out breath is a releasing breath. Now, a little bit of directing of energy in this standing position. When you breathe in, draw the breath from the feet and from the ground up through your body to the top of your head. Breathing out, send the energy and the breath from the top of your head through your torso, through your legs, to your feet. So breathing in is drawing the energy up. Breathing out, send the energy down through the body, back to the feet. You're being saturated with that flow of energy up, encouraged by that flow of energy down. You can imagine the breath itself is pulling the energy, like the in-breath is like a suction, pulling the energy up. Out-breath is like a propulsion or push, directing, pressing the energy down. So up and down intentionally with the mind. Intention draws the breath energy and draws the chi. And then settle the mind and breath below the navel for a moment. And then open and expand from there back to a global emptying, opening, and letting the energy do as it wills, becoming empty and passive. So very different feeling between intentional and passive, directional and allowing. Now exploring that allowing quality, just empty and open. Releasing the abdomen, weight underside, open, release, empty. Now, if we come, just rock out of that a little bit. It also applies to our movements. So working with the distinction between allowing energy to move as it wills, staying open and, so to speak, passive, and letting the energy just do what it wants to do and go where it needs to go, and wants to go, or can go, and being more intentional, more volitional with the energy direction, the energy movement. So consciously employing your intention, a directional vector with your intention. Those are two different qualities, yin and yang. Okay, yang is more directional. Yang is directional and intentional. Yin is open, passive, allowing, empty. So totally different qualities. We work both aspects of the mind, both qualities of the energy in Tai Chi. If we take that into our movements, and let's do some stationary parting horse's mane, because that's a very, very simple movement. We're going to start with the yin aspect, empty and open. Now we're going to need to have some sort of intentional aspects because we're going to be moving, but as much as you can, be pure in emptiness and no intention. Hang out, open. So just like we did in standard standing, Zhang, standard standing, it's just a slightly different shape. The legs are different, arms are slightly different, but just as we had openness, roundness in the arms here, this is just another way of doing it. So think of it and feel it the same way, as if this is the same as our standard standing shape. So it's exactly the same process. Weight a little bit on the back leg to start with. And so again, we're working with this emptiness and openness. Just like here, the arms are being billowed out, pressed out, expanded out. We're not making the shape with my arm muscles. I'm not making that shape with my arms. The arms are rounded. The arms are open and rounded by my emptiness and openness. So weight slightly towards the back, shoulder sitting, shoulder joints open, just like we did here, expanding out, opens and lengthens the shoulder joints, billows the arms out, same feeling here, holding the ball. And let that emptiness spread through your body, open the entire body, background of the head pointing up, tailbone pointing down. Keeping that emptiness, that open, expansive emptiness as you go into some movement. So not trying to be intentional or directive with your body or your movement of chi, trying to keep the same open, passive, non-moving, body's not moving. It's almost as if the body is not moving. You are focused more on the quality of that openness, emptiness, expansiveness. So it's totally okay if you don't go all the way to a forward position, 60%, 70% forward. It probably will tend to be a smaller movement. That's appropriate. Emptiness, expanding emptiness. You might notice your abdomen releases and releases and releases physically. Empty, empty. Notice the quality of the feeling and notice the quality of the shape that it creates. Very open, very round, probably very big. Take your time to go to the other side. Maybe maintain that empty expansion if you can, even as you transition to the other side. Coming back, notice if you tend to lose that empty expansion quality and do a little bit of doing to come back, stay with that emptying until you're full of emptiness. Keeping that expanding emptiness. And notice the shape, the feeling, notice the body, notice the joints. Okay, now keeping the emptiness as much as you can, transition to the other side again, and just hang back on the back leg a little bit before you start moving. Now we're going to get a bit more yang about it and have an intentional vector, sending your mind forward and send your mind through your arms. So now it's more directed, more directive. Come back with your intention. Go forward with your intention, and the body follows that. So from your dantian, from your core, you send the energy out through your arms and out from your center, out in front of you, out towards the horizon and through your arms. Try to hang out and relax as much as you can. It's just your intention that's moving, your intention that's active, not your muscles. Come back because you choose to come back with your energy and body. You go forward because you choose to go forward with your energy and body. You set a different direction. The weight of your attention, you throw it forward. And then the weight of your attention, you throw it back. And that brings you back. It drifts you back. Then I throw the weight of my attention forward. There's like a wind moving me forward, like a wind moving the sail of a boat, and that's why the boat moves. The wind is the chi flowing, the chi moving. So you move your mind back, move your attention back, and the wind moves the sail. The sail is your body. Your mind is the sun, is the light intention. Send the mind forward. If your sail is open, the ensuing wind from that intention moves the sail, moves your body. So the intention is moving you. Stay nice and open as you transition. Settle, open, physically release the abdomen, physically let the expanding abdomen take up more physical space. Sit the shoulders, open, expand. Send the weight of your attention forward. Lean your mind forward and let that move through your body.
It's amazing how different it feels.
Very different flavor.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Very different flavor, very different quality. And we do want to work both. And it's like two different muscles. And we want skill built in both ways, in both qualities. And at different times, you use or you emphasize either one or the other. Same for healing, basic healing.
Okay.
Yes, that choice. Sometimes you're just like, let's say, well, certainly if you have something specific to heal, if it's a specific area, or specific organ, or specific gland, or specific condition, of course, it makes sense to send your directional intention specifically to that area. Of course, that makes sense. But not necessarily always, even if it's a specific thing. So, of course, when you're just wanting to work with healing in general, to be empty and open and non-volitional, non-directive, and just being emptying, open, being a pure and pure vessel of chi, that makes sense to do that yin aspect, that emptiness aspect, when you're just doing kind of a global or general healing. But also, if you're doing a specific healing, this is where intuition comes in. That sometimes this shouldn't always be specific directional movement of the chi to that specific place, but opening up the entire body to allow the chi to be freed up to move where it wants to move, and that helps clear that area. You can work more microcosmically, where in that specific area, you're letting that be empty and open and expansive, takes up more space until it evaporates into the largeness of space. So you're taking that emptiness and emptying to that local place. So that's another way to use it. But also overall, generally emptying and openness, emptying, even when you're working with a specific condition or specific location in your body, that also helps trigger releasing of blockages and triggers a free flow of energy that's going to help that specific area.
You know, it's just perfect timing, because that's what I've been experiencing. So it's both, and then there's more of the passive openness that's been coming, because before it used to be more directed, but now I'm finding that if I just kind of let go and go, it becomes that more spacious, and it softens the discomfort.
Right.
In a different
way. Very
way.
good. And it's correct that that is a movement of adeptness, a movement of ability, of skill, to start to sense that letting go and releasing and allowing, that feels very good, and maybe sometimes more powerful or more effecting, more changing than even the directional use of the mind and intention. So that is a clear indication of development on the path, that you're sensing that. And you're becoming more open, more universal, to allow the universal intelligence to address the situation instead of this small mind trying to do something.
Yeah.
Very good.
And when you're talking about, you know, it's the emptying of the mind, because the mind, and even, you know, today is an example, but it's just so busy. But when it becomes the most, this expanded experience is when my mind is at that closer to being open and quiet, and then it all kind of seems to connect together.
Yeah, that's very, very good. And I would encourage you to nurture that more and more, and make that the majority of the study and the experience and the work. Make that almost 100% of what you're spending your time and your work on for quite some time. And then what happens, that's opening up to intelligence. It's not just the body that opens and becomes more free and connected, it's the mind, it's the psyche, it's the intelligence, opening to a larger intelligence. And so when you work with that predominantly, it becomes very clear, very pointedly clear, when it's time to get more directional, volitional. Okay, so now it's time for me to focus this, the focus to do this, it becomes very clearly strong. That's time to do this right now for this situation. So that becomes very apparent. So most of the time we're hanging out in that openness, in that empty expansiveness. That's home.
Mm.